that? Well, like, just to kind of piggyback on what Maryanne was saying about earning your empowerment, I was utterly terrified to get on a motorcycle. I took lessons in Virginia. I had to learn how to drive on sand. I always fell off. It was always very traumatic, but because I used to ride horses, which is really weird, but if you fall off something, you get back on. That's kind of the rule. And if you're afraid of it, you just face it and then keep going, which has kind of been my mantra throughout my life anyway. So getting back on a motorcycle, let alone a scooter, was like, that's crazy. But my husband was like, yes, you can do this and you're going to learn. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so for anybody that knows vintage scooters, you have to manually shift them. And it's not easy. And it's this really weird conglomeration of a dance. And meanwhile, you're really super tiny because cars can't see you. And you have to have like lots of mirrors. And you get really used to honking the horn while you're shifting at the same time and braking. And it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like dancing. And so how this empowers me is I was terrified to be on a motorcycle, but I got on my scooter, and in that moment of riding, at least for me, it's like all things cease to be in my head other than being present in the moment. I can't be thinking about what's coming down the line necessarily. I mean, I have to be looking, but I can't really think about it. I have to just kind of go with the flow and see how everything works together if I'm not so stuck in my head. So I guess my story is kind of about how to become empowered. So how do you get out of your head? There's lots of different ways people do it. People meditate. I tried that. I can meditate. But I find riding my scooter is a better meditation. And in the process of learning how to ride this scooter, I ended up starting a scooter gang. And it originally started with a friend who was like, let's be our own scooter gang. And so we'd ride up here and have coffee, and we were like, we're girls and we're a scooter gang and we're awesome. And then Ron came to bring his scooter on board, and then we were like 3 people on a scooter gang. And it was really funny, and we're older people, so come on. I mean, we got to have a thrill somehow, and there was a lot of shit that was really wrong in our lives, so we were like, yeah, we're badass scooter people. And so I was like, all right, we're going to start this scooter gang. And, well, my friend Beth, she didn't really want to do much of the work, and she was like, I just want to be in a scooter gang. And I'm like, well, being in a scooter gang takes work. I don't know how to do that either. But I'm going to try and figure this out. So we started this scooter gang, and the scooter gang people started coming, which was really awesome. And so I found out, people that were riding scooters typically like had some really big issues, and probably like motorcycle people. I'm sure there's motorcycle people that, they do it for sobriety, or they do it for, charity or some kind of reason. But people that ride in general, and I'm sure it's probably bicycle riders too, you have to be so present in your moment that any slip up, you're going to die. So you don't want that to happen. So you have to be mindful of what's going on around you. So you have, like, if you go into that whole, interpersonal psychology, if you will, you've got, your interpersonal circle, your locus of control, and you've got this external crap, and you've got to be paying attention all at the same time. But you're really honed in on that moment, and there's some kind of freedom that's in that. And it's like flying. It's like flying, because you don't have to think about anything other than just being strapped on this machine that's going to carry you, and you got to trust it. Now, let me tell you, people, I've had some serious happenings being on this damn scooter, and it never happens to other people. Nicole is like a walking I don't know, but it's not good. Things happen to me, but what's cool about it is, though, I overcome them. And I don't know how I do it other than just being present in the moment and then moving forward. So it's kind of like a scooter, right? So things that have happened to me. Riding, bombing down the road with some friends. They're way ahead of us. I'm like, meow, 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 beep, beep, beep. What happens? Oh, there's a cop behind you. Flat tire. Now, do any of you know how to ride out a flat tire on a motorcycle? Have you ever done it? I have, and it's not fun, but I can tell you can do it. How do you do it, Nicole? You be mindful. You blank out. You just literally let your whole body force and everything in your mind just coalesce into this one amalgam of a machine and ride it out. Okay? That's how it happens. And afterward, you fall apart because you're like, holy shit, I almost died. And there was a cop behind me and he didn't even care. And I'm like dying, fishtail all over the road. He bombs on and goes, hey guys, your friend's having some problems. Thanks for saving my life, guy. And we were in Tucson just recently. During the month of October, we went down to go to the, what was it called, Ron? The Day of the Dead party. Thank you. All Souls Processional. We went to that, and that was really important, but we brought our scooter friends with us. And we're driving along. We're with this new scooter group. There's like, I don't know, probably like 30, 40, 50 people in this scooter gang, and they all drive plastics. And when I say plastics, what I really mean is it's not a shifty. It's not a vintage. And vintage has a whole nother layer of sub-layers to take care of. But they can just go, and then their brake and everything is, they don't have to think as much. So I'm bombing down the road with these guys, and they're on vintage, and they're like going like, I don't know, 55. Now I have a 100cc bike. That means nothing. That means I'm like, the whole way. So what happens? Oh, clutch breaks. So the clutch cable, boom, gone. And we're making a left-hand turn with this whole gaggle of people. How am I going to shift this bike? I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to get eaten in the back, or I'm going to get eaten in the front, and I don't know what to do. And I'm making a left-hand turn, and there's cars, and there's people, and I've never manually slam-shifted a motorcycle in my life. How am I going to do this? And so you just, blank out again. Bling. And you just do it, pop the wheelie, ride it out, take fishtail the corner, and then stop somewhere along the line. Everybody's like, wow, man, that was really badass. And I'm like, I almost died. I'm going to go over here for 20 minutes and try and compose myself and not shit myself in the process. So I made it through that. How? I don't know. Resiliency? I don't think so. I don't conjure it. It just happens. How does it happen? I think in earning your empowerment for yourself, you have to give yourself some sense of freedom to allow these magical things that happen in the universe to just kind of, again, coalesce over the top of you and allow you to become a part of the process. If you're too busy analyzing the process, it's not going to happen. Because you're going to overthink it. And when you overthink things, what happens? You overcorrect. And if you overcorrect, then what? You're road pizza, and that's not okay. So I think what I'm saying is there's lots of different ways you can find empowerment or build your own empowerment within yourself. And it doesn't have to be crazy antics that are like Evel Knievel proportions. But it's allowing yourself to be open enough to experience the flow of everything that is happening in that moment and not fight against the current. Because if you allow that to happen, you will literally fly.
Guys, keep it going for Nicole. I feel like we need to submit some of those nuggets to ADOT, those really shitty signs they do on the freeway that are like, don't text and drive. It's just pay attention or you'll be road pizza. That would sell me. I'm like, oh, I'm not texting anymore. I don't want to be road pizza. All right, guys. Our next storyteller is new to the stage. It is his first time, I believe. Hold on. I forgot it already. Put your hands together for Edgar.
Thank you. Wow. Do I have to hold it or no? It's good. It's good. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Jazz hands. Okay. My story is kind of roundabout. Now, I don't know if it's going to fit completely that, but I did a lot of jobs for a long time. Busing, barista, cashier, all kinds of things, right? I went to a college, community college, for 10 years. It was kind of a long time. Community college is 2 years, right? So there's a guy, I don't know if you know, have you ever heard of the Van Wilder movie? Okay. I beat that guy and he was at a university. So that was a long time, but worked a lot of jobs in those things. Still wanting to be creative. I don't know if anybody else understands this. You're working all these jobs. You still want to be an artist, all these things, but you're constantly doing all these other, pursuits, like for money and stuff. And so it was constantly doing that, having these two sides, like the more matter-of-fact guy and the more abstract poet kind of guy. Together, if that makes any, all right? And so for years it was like that. And they call it a paradox. Have you heard of the paradox? Two contrary sides. I got to express this and this, if that makes sense. Okay. So for a long time, it was both those things competing with each other, if that makes sense. I don't know why I keep saying if that makes sense. But as long as there's nodding heads, that's a good sign for at least 3 or 4 people. So for many, many years doing that, and you know how you're working jobs, you're doing art, and there's always frustrations, disappointments, rejections. Nobody knows that, right? Yeah, I'm sure you all know that. Eventually, you keep doing it. But I learned, I think empowerment to me is probably something different, probably not the same thing. To me, it's like when you begin to realize those two things and you put them together and you start to express both together. So I'm this guy and I'm that guy. So I'm Edgar sometimes, and this might be a different week of topic, nickname Bob. They call me, that might be next week's topic. I don't know. But so I do this Bob Iger, like, strange poetry about the evils of Melba toast and all these things, and warning infected nuclear ants and all the strange things. And then I write this very matter-of-fact articles, education. You know what I'm saying? So there's those two things. So what I started doing recently, I started going to job interviews. Okay, this is a little odd. Going to job interviews, and they say, so what do you do with your spare time? What do you do with... And, I used to not tell them, like, this stuff. I don't think I'm going to get this job if I tell them this stuff. And so I just say, oh, I've had some experience in this and all this stuff. Now I sit there and I go, yes, I've had some experience in this field. And then on my spare days, I go to tunnels and hang out with poets, musicians, dancers as a guy named Bob. And they're like, that's very odd. They're like, I'm not so sure about this. And they're like, well, we'll call you back. And I got a few jobs from that. I don't know, very surprising. But that's really, I don't know if I had to be here 8 minutes. But I am saying that, that is the moment of empowerment for me. Like, okay, I'm going to do this anyway. I don't know how it's going to go. But this is me, and this is me. Matter-of-fact guy and abstract poetry guy. All right, that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
One more time for Edgar. Bob, one more time for Bob. I definitely love our new storytellers that come up and it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes coming up and doing something for the first time. And you have this set expectation in your head. You're listening to the other storytellers, and you start to think a little bit like, oh, my story's not structured as well